Hello again, Hot Wheelers. So, it wasn't too long ago that I took this Hot Wheels Volkswagen Beetle, this tuned thing, and did my own 3D wheels on it, and I also did a couple other parts, as you can see. It's such a goofy looking car that I like it. So today we're going to try something a little different, but the same at the same time. So this Manga Tuner tuned thing came in. And actually, it didn't come in. I just got it locally at the store, because it's a fairly recent release, just called the Manga Tuner. It reminds me of a car from one of those Pixar or DreamWorks films. Specifically, like a guy with a mustache was driving a car that looked like this. I don't know if it was from Incredibles or what, but if anyone knows, please leave a message. So another brand of wheels, I do like to do my wheel swaps. I always find everyone else's videos of wheel swaps entertaining, and I like it too. So BNDS, I have done a video of their plastic wheels, but I haven't done a video on their photo etched metal wheels, which are these. And at 164, I guess these wheels are supposed to be 15 inches, which is quite small. They're meant, I think, to go on those Aoshima cars. And I'll probably do some videos of those later with these wheels. But I'm trying to get that collection finished first. So let's take a look first here at these wheels and see what's going to happen. Alright, so there's some instructions. I don't think it's the rocket science because there's only like 3 parts here. But if you're really not confident, this tells you how to go about doing it. Cut out the pieces, sand off the metal edges after you cut it out, paint the insides black, flat black preferably, and then either push them in. Well, let's see, let's continue on. Nope, I guess maybe use some crazy glue to apply it, and then you use the axles like all other Hot Wheels wheel kits. Alright, so that seems pretty straightforward. So I'll open that up and yeah, we'll get to that later. You don't have to watch me open that. So let's open this though and review this car. There's not much to review, being a cartoon car, of course. But one thing I can say is the paint is really nice. I know this car's come out before in other colors, but I like this pink, and unfortunately some casting blemishes. I just noticed that the door cut lines just stop. It would have been nice if they came down here so it actually looks like a door. I have to imagine it's because the way the mold is made, this is just pulling out of the mold. If they actually had door lines, they would have to create more parts to the mold to pull out, so that got more expensive. Alright, so these are your standard really small diameter wheels, which is why I think these are gonna fit. They're actually smaller than the Hot Wheels one, which might be alright. Or maybe I can raise the axle and lower the car even further. So in fact, let's see how low this is to the ground as it is. There's actually a bit of ride height on this thing. For a slammed racing car, I think this could go lower, so the smaller tires might actually help out here in this case. Alright, so the front end definitely looks like a Bosozoku Skyline, with the oil cooler, the Liberty Walk canted headlights, and then this front end with the cantilevered nose. That's definitely on one of those Aoshima Grachan cars. So the graphics are really cool. I don't know what that means. I didn't take Google Translate to it. If anyone's motivated, please leave a comment. And I just like the stripes. It's cool. It's a really cool color combo. Yeah. Then the pipes are not the greatest. Maybe, well, I don't know what I'm going to do there. But I'll definitely add some color to the headlights and the taillights. So another thing that someone asked is, like, how do I do my 3D wheel projects without taking them apart? Well, it's quite simple. I simply sacrifice one of the wheels. So let's talk about that if you want to start modifying cars on your own. A couple of things I've learned after doing so many of the Hot Wheels now. At first I just had these. These are 8-inch, dikes, or 8-inch side cutters they're called, because they generally cut from one side. And these will definitely work. But the problem is, if you have a really small wheel well, it's hard to get this large of a tool around that axle. So, a couple other side nippers I want to just give you some tips on. These are electronics cutters. They're very small. In fact, here are 3. Do not use these. They're not meant to do high torque applications. They're really meant to clip off the ends of PCB boards and stuff. So don't use this because these are generally expensive and you'll destroy them very quickly. Okay? These are pretty cheap, and they're just more durable electronics cutters. But what happened is, well, you can use these no problem to cut off a wheel. So let's go ahead and do that. So I try to cut right to the axle because it just means less cuts. But if you have the time, you can just cut a bunch of times. Okay, so most of the wheel is gone now, right? Here's the issue with this particular type of electronics cutter. These are not meant to cut hardened steel. These axles are steel, they're not aluminum. So you can see I tried to cut one, and you can see the air gap right there, right? Right here. And that's because I tried to cut this axle right there, and the axle is stronger than the blade. So luckily these weren't expensive, but I learned my lesson. But if you want to save a few dollars, don't cut an axle with this type of cutter. Alright? So I invested in this thing. Knipex, or Knipex is the brand. I think they're German, maybe? Yeah, made in Germany. So you know they don't mess around with anything in that country. These are actually rated for a diameter of hardened metal. You can go to the website, look up side cutters, and they have all different sizes. And so I think these are like 120 millimeters, 4-inch or something, or maybe they're the bigger ones. Does it say? It doesn't. But you can actually see here on the rating here. Piano wire rating is 0.6, so 0.6 millimeters. But it's actually capable. Well, on the all right, here it is. These are the dimensions. These are 125, being the length is 125 millimeters. But there's another rating on the website saying that it can cut like I think 1 millimeter steel. And Hot Wheels axles are 0.7 millimeters, so it's never been an issue. And the head is small enough that I can get into a wheel well, you know, unlike those very first ones. So what I do is I simply just take this, I hold the other axle because it'll send it shooting out across the floor and into your carpet monster. So there. That's how I preserve my axles when I do my 3D wheel projects. You know, I just clip off the ends. Also, you don't want to do this without safety glasses, you know, because that stuff will shoot right into your eye. Or I just close my eyes when I cut it. Right? So that's how I do it. So the bottom is preserved. Okay. So now, let me come back here. I'll get this out of the bag. Or actually, just hold on here. Let's cut this thing free. Look at these parts here. So we got photo etched gold. We seem to have 4 axle ends, which is basically the minimum you need to do this. Unfortunately, they don't give you an extra one, so you might want to work inside of a tray, because if you lose one of these axle ends, you're out of luck, right? You need to have 4 ends. All right, so boy, that's a tight fit there. And then I'm noticing these axles are a lot shorter than the Word C ones I've been using in my other videos. But at the same time, the axle ends are a lot longer. So if I even put a tiny bit of the axle end in, we can see this will fit a very wide diecast car. You know, if you super glue it, look at that. No, it should be fine. Okay. So one thing I'm not liking about these BNDS alloys is, you know, the lack of black paint in there. I think it would have been nice to really just maybe provide some sort of paper or plastic circles that you could just glue in there. But no, now we're going to try to darken that, because if you don't darken it, the spoke holes will look silver, and right? So it won't look so good. Alright, so the lazy way might be to try a black Sharpie. Let's see what happens there. If you watch my videos, you know I'm kind of lazy. You know what? This might be alright. Well, it's not. The problem with the Sharpie here, because the plastic nib has some width to it above the actual part that emits the fluid, it's not getting into the corners. So I don't think that's going to work. So what that pretty much leads to is, just like the instructions say, you got to get some black paint in a paintbrush. And so I have a bunch of this stuff. It's a water-based acrylic from Vallejo, and it works in paint airbrushes, but also in this case a paintbrush. This is a primer, so primers are generally matte finish. Let me try to get a little better light here for you guys. This might be difficult to do. I'm trying to do this through the camera screen, but I can't focus. Maybe if I just move around, the camera will find its way. No, it will not find its way. Alright, well, you can obviously see what I need to do. I'm basically just trying to paint the back surface black, but not the walls, I don't think, because... Sorry, I am going to have to focus. So, that gold piece that I'm going to put in later rests on this surface here. If I painted all of this black, it's going to show up. So you can see I already did it by mistake. But I can just take a Q-tip, since this is a water-based paint. If I mess up a lot, even after it dries, I can take a Q-tip and some alcohol and just swab it in there. So in fact, I can probably just be as messy as I want, since I already screwed up, and then just clean it up afterwards. Alright, the next thing is to cut these little discs out of the metal foil. They're actually covered with a little bit of silver, not silver, plastic. It's not a sticker, it's just some sort of static cling plastic. I think I might want to leave that on so the thing doesn't go flying off somewhere. And also it'll keep these four from like just falling off if they, if this thing gets bent. It's nice that they give you 8 in case you mess up 4 of them, so that's great. So in the instructions it just says to use a hobby knife, so I'm gonna try that. Yeah, that worked fine. So a hobby knife works. Alright, so yeah, I think it's good to maybe keep the plastic on, because after you do the second cut, without the plastic, the disc might go flying off somewhere. Alright, so let's see if I can pry those out. Maybe, nope, I thought they might be sticking to that. They didn't cut well enough. Well, that's definitely cut. So, oh, it says plastic on both sides. That's what's throwing me off. Okay, well, I guess I can always put tape on the other 4 later. Take the plastic off the back side as well, and now they fall out easily. Alright, now so if I want to keep those other 4, I guess I'll just put this plastic back on both sides. And yeah, so it's nice. You get 4 chances to mess up. Alright, but now you can see there's a little bit of leftover metal where I cut those pieces. So I'm sure any way to sand it down, jewelry file, or even this little diamond coated nail file or sandpaper stick. The metal is so thin that I think anything would work, really. In fact, I don't even see it on this one. I think I cut that one actually well enough. There's no leftover metal. So that one's good. But this one I do see a little bit of metal. Boy, where'd it... There. That's it. It's gone. Alright, so let's install these. I gotta put some glue out. Alright guys, I painted the insides black, and I just want to note, there's a little ledge right here, and I don't think you want to get paint on that because that's where the glue is holding that inner piece that you're going to glue in there. So there's a recessed ridge, well, it's not a ridge, it's a groove, and that's where I painted it all black. And I also painted the middle. You don't really have to because the photo etch is going to cover that as well, but just out of laziness, that's what I did. So what I'm getting at is just try to maintain this shelf that I'm touching right now because the crazy glue has to stick to that. So I have this method here for installing them. After I trimmed off the flash from the metal, I put an axle end through it, right? Now I have a little dab of crazy glue out here on the table, and I put it on the Hot Wheels axle, but that's probably too big of a dab. And basically I'm just going to go around the whole rim where all the spokes are and just dab a little bit of this crazy glue there. Okay, so just spin it around. Honestly, you could probably just dab in 4 spots, it'll be fine, but why not do it better, right? I figure it'll rest better if it's glued all around. Alright, so now that the glue is on that backside surface, I'm going to push up this metal thing, hold the axle end. I'm going to grab this wheel, slide it on. Sorry if it's out of focus, I can't hit the focus button while I have my hands tied. So that kind of makes it centered, right? Now the weight of the wheel makes the glue stick, and now I'm going to just flip it upside down, and then the axle end comes out. Okay, so I'm going to do that one more time. Maybe it'll be in focus this time. Let's see. So I have the gold piece. Get some crazy glue on this. You gotta wipe off the glue sometimes, it builds up a cake layer. Alright. So go around the perimeter of this thing. On the back side, apply some glue. Okay. So now that the glue is on the back side, I just push it up the axle. Fit it through the axle, the wheel hole, I mean. Come on. And then I just lift it upside down, and it's centered. Okay, I squeeze it a little bit. Alright, there. Now that it's squeezed, the glue is touching, and now we can put it down. Alright, so that seemed to work. It's a relatively clean process. You can see in here, you know, because it's so dark back there, sorry. I don't see any excess glue coming through. Doesn't seem so bad. Okay. I'm wondering, maybe I didn't put enough black paint in there. I did see something shiny in there. That's too bad. Oh well, you live and you learn. Okay, so now next thing I'm going to have to do is take this thing here, put the axle through one of these wheels, and then glue the axle end into the main middle shaft, I guess you would call it, or the middle pipe, or tube. So in this case, I'm just going to smear some on. I'm not going to smear too much because I don't want to mess up. I want to be able to remove these. But generally steel on steel, smooth steel on steel, the crazy glue gives you a chance to break it apart. Okay, so sorry, it's not focusing. Now let's see here. If I do that, yeah, that I guess seems okay. So I'm going to press this end in here with a toothpick or something. Focus. Alright, so I pressed in that axle end all the way into the tube, and so the tube is literally pressing up against this. I think it's fine for that side. If I need a little bit more axle, which I actually don't, in this case it works out perfectly. So now I'm going to slide this guy through. Oh, is this too big? Yeah, look at that. So this wheel set is not designed for Hot Wheels. Like I said, the small diameter, I think they're supposed to be meant to go on real true 64 scale cars, and in particular I think those Aoshima Grachans. It's not a big deal, but I'm gonna have to get a drill bit and widen that hole a little bit, so I'll be back. Alrighty guys, I ran into a couple problems that I think you should be aware of if you're going to try to do these on a Hot Wheels. First, it's the axle ends are actually too long. Let me show you. I have a second set of wheels that I pulled open. Here's the middle tube. Here's an axle end, right? So I'm going to pop that all the way in. Sure, it's all the way. Now here's the second axle end. So actually, if I just hold it this way, hopefully you can see. No, maybe you can't because... Alright, maybe you can see now. This axle end is that much longer. So again, this thing was designed for much bigger vehicles, I guess. Or they're just giving you a lot of extra safety. So essentially, you want to always test fit this on whatever vehicle you're going to put these wheels on. In my case, I had to take off this much extra here and here off of each one. So when I pressed the wheels together, they weren't sticking out of the fenders. So just be mindful of that. Okay. So also after I pushed one side in, like there'd be a wheel here, I'd push it in, I'd put this on, and then I would hold this one side with like this little micro drill bit or mini drill, Phillips drill bit here, and then I just used a wooden toothpick to push the other side in. Because the wheels are so deep, you have to push that, keep that axle from popping out the other side as you push one side in. Hopefully that makes sense. I also found that to trim off the metal thing, some locking not pliers, what are these? Tweezers. These are tweezers, and you can slide lock that, and you can hold the little photo etched piece of metal, there. And then I found that diamond file worked perfectly fine, the little nail file here. So I put this in here, and I just did like that, right? And then drilling out the holes here on this guy, I actually drilled up the holes a lot higher. So I have this Tamiya drill, and it's so slow that you can't really run the risk of destroying the model. So if you're gonna mod stuff, I highly recommend one of these drill bits. Also, this tube that comes with this brand of wheels is 1 millimeter thick. So a standard Hot Wheels axle is 0.7 millimeters, but this guy is 1 full millimeter. So that's why I couldn't get it into that plastic very easily. So, naturally I have a 1 millimeter bit here, and I just made it even a little bit bigger by wiggling this around. So those are the tips I have for you guys as far as this brand of alloys on a Hot Wheels. So let's get back to this. I added a little bit of paint detail, not too much. The tail lights, I had some silver and red. The headlights silver, the markers orange, and that little oil cooler up front silver, of course. I decided to leave the exhaust tips yellow, and because paint doesn't want to stick to this type of plastic, it seems. So yeah, I put a little silver on the tips themselves. It's interesting to note on this particular car, they used the windshield plastic to actually indicate the markers. You see, this is clear plastic right here. And same up here, clear plastic. I have a suspicion it's all part of this windshield piece. So they didn't choose to do it with the yellow. So, interesting. I just left them alone. I kind of like the clearness. And actually the center of the grill here is also transparent. It's, sorry, maybe I can't focus on transparent, but this right here I'm rubbing is transparent plastic because I think, again, it's attached to that. I also ended up having to clip off a tiny bit of those little rounded axle protectors because these wheels are so small diameter, and I raised up the suspension, well, the axle so much, it might not even be touching those tires, but it looks okay. It definitely looks like a cartoon car. Tuned, right? So now I have two. this could be a rabbit's hole I'm opening up here. So don't be surprised if you see more and some more videos about these tuned vehicles. I know Hot Wheels has a Volkswagen Rabbit coming out, or Golf, whatever country you live in, whatever they called it there. And it looks pretty good. It looks just as ridiculous as this pink car, this manga car. And so I definitely will get 3. But I also know there are more expensive brands, more high quality versions of these tuned vehicles called Chorokyu, and even more expensive ones than those. So I might give them a try. You know, I don't see many people reviewing these types of vehicles, and I do like the ridiculous, and you cannot argue the fact that these look ridiculous, if not plain stupid. So, alright guys, well, I'll see you guys in the next one whenever I get one of these other tuned vehicles. Alright, tuning out. Lame joke.